A lot of times when you watch SEC teams, even in the championship level, and it might not have been true about Ohio State and Georgia last year, but a lot of times you watch SEC versus Big Ten, there is a noticeable speed difference. When you watch Michigan on film, and it's maybe tough to judge on film, but you're a trained eye, do they look to be SEC speed? Do they look to be the speed of Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and teams like that?
No, I wouldn't say that they're the same speed. I mean, if I came on here and told you that, I'd be lying because they're not. And I played a Big Ten team in my national championship game in 2007, Ohio State. And don't get me wrong, Ohio State was a very tough, physical, mean, nasty, all those things. Like James Laurinaitis, he was as rock solid as like anybody I've ever had to block. But that's what they are, right? They're solid up front. They can be a strong team, a gritty team, all those things. It's not to say that they don't have athletes. Obviously they do. I mean, Blake Corum is one of those guys. He's going to play a long time on Sundays, but the speed's just different. I mean, and that's usually the thing that kind of separates the SEC from everybody else. I'm trying to think, like in my college career, we played a really good Notre Dame team, Brady Quinn, Jeff Samardzija, Tom Zibikowski, all of those guys. And, you know, we was down in the Sugar Bowl, and we beat them like 42-10 or something around there, and it was just a different speed. I think that is always going to be the difference. It doesn't mean you can't be a great team. I think Michigan is a great team. I mean, how can you not be? They got the number 2 pass defense in the country, number 6 rush defense in the country. They give up less than 10 points a game, but the speed is going to be what either wins this game for Alabama or maybe it doesn't. And you start to point to positions like receiver for Alabama where you're going to have the speed advantage, right? Can you take advantage of having that go in your favor? So, no, I mean, I don't think Michigan has the same team speed, but certainly they've got the team strength. And if they, play the game like they want to and they dictate the pace of the game, then we're talking about a completely different ballgame.
Jacob, I find it interesting when I talk to Alabama fans, they're like, not really worried about this game because J.J. McCarthy's not a good quarterback. And I try to tell them, I try to warn them, I don't know if he's been I don't know if the leash has been taken off of J.J. You look at the guy, he's only turned it over once in his last 10 games. He's only attempted 30 or more passes in 3 games this year. He really hasn't had to do much with their ability to run the football and play defense.
Yeah, it's kind of like they have throttled it back the last couple of weeks, certainly. Like at the beginning of the season, I think we did see a different J.J. McCarthy. I think we saw a different offense. They were allowing him to go out there and make the plays to win a game. But, at some point in the middle portion of the season, certainly in the back half of the season, they said, no, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play really good defense, and we're going to run the football, and we're going to run it where you can't stop it. And that's like imposing your will on your opponent. There's no better feeling, by the way, as a running back. Imagine playing a top 10 Penn State team, and you run the ball 30 times in a row, and there's nothing they can do about it. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, but that's what Michigan did because they can. Now, can they do it against Alabama? They're not going to run it 30 times against this Alabama front, but that's just who they are. Now, will they allow J.J. to go out there and make the plays? Will they take those chances? We've seen him make plays in his college career before, but for whatever reason, they've really taken their foot off the gas here down the stretch. Now, I would have liked to see Michigan take more chances knowing that J.J. is going to have to make those plays in the college football playoff if they want to get their first playoff victory because you're not going to be able to have that same style of offense. And now it's an offense. It's not completely old school. When you look at the breakdown of their personnel groups, they're going to run 11 personnel 34% of the time. They run 12 personnel 33% of the time. And this really brings a tear to a glass eye. They run 21 personnel 20% of the time. And so they're going to be multiple in what they do, and they're going to have some spread formations and some sub-package stuff. But are you going to allow your veteran quarterback, who at one time was a Heisman contender, to go out there and make a play against, maybe the best defensive secondary in the country?
Speaking of that secondary, so impressed with how physical freshman Caleb Downs was this year. What do you think about his play this year and the role he'll have against that running attack?
Oh, I think it was without question one of not only the best freshmen but best players in the country when you look at what he's been able to do and really the totality of the group. I'm not sure how Michigan can attack that group. And I would assume Alabama's probably going to have, somebody like him closer to the line of scrimmage than they probably would in other games. And I would force them, like going back to our previous conversation, I would force them to show me that they're, one, willing to throw the ball down the field and try to make a play, and also that they can get it done. Because until then, why would I play somebody like that, farther than 10 yards from the football. So when you have that versatility like they have, when you have the guys that they have back there, again, when you look at it, I think they play better than anybody this year. You can be so creative, right? You have to go out there and say, hey, you have to prove to me that you can get this done because I think my guy is better than your guy. And I think that is the case. I think that is one of maybe the biggest advantages for Alabama. It's probably the biggest advantage that they have is that DB group against the receiver room of Michigan. And so, yeah, I would get very creative. I would allow him to really have an impact in the game and have it in the game early.